Hello and welcome to the Sales Tools Adoption, Getting the Most Out of Your Investment webinar with the Sales Acceleration Technology Summit. First, I just want to quickly thank InsideSales.com for hosting this event, and I'm really excited to talk to you today about how to get better adoption to your sales stack. I'm Brynne Tillman. I'm the Chief Learning Officer at PeopleLinx, and I'm thrilled to be talking about this very, very important issue, which is sales tool adoption. So on average, sales reps that are using 8 digital tools in their workflow. 8 tools. So getting adoption to new tools or even to some of those 8 can be a challenge. 47% of sales leaders note a shift from outside sales to inside sales. So what does that mean? That means if they're going from outside to inside, they're probably using more tools, or you have more tools for them to leverage. 91% of companies with more than 11 employees have a CRM. That's huge when you think about that. I mean, 91% of companies. Only 26% of B2B sales reps feel like they know how to use social for sales. And there are lots and lots of tools out there that are very powerful to help them with that. And while 37% of sales teams have purchased a sales collaboration networking tool, more than 60% found little to no adoption. That's scary. That's a CSO insight. So let's talk about how to improve this. Well, first, why sales reps need the tools. Now, you may go, well, we know why they need them, but they need them because buyer behavior has changed. So what does that actually mean? That means that our buyers, our potential clients, are using things like social, and they are using technology, and they are self-educating. So we need to have tools that help us be part of that buyer journey, that align with the new buyer behavior. The buying process has changed. We used to have a couple, 1, 2, maybe even 3 people that we were talking to throughout the sales process. And we could even talk to them individually about how our solution would help them. And it would be simple to close a deal, and simple is a big word, but it would be much simpler to close a deal based on 1 or 2 really strong relationships. But the buying process has changed. They are now collaborative buyers. They are discussing this with each other. They are weighing out pros and cons. They are looking and comparing A, B, and C. And so we have to align with that new process and have the right tools that help us do that. And sales teams need to adapt. So the only way they're going to adapt is through new process and new conversations. And we rely on our sales tools to help scale the new process and conversations. Now, here's the problem, or one of them. Our reps are on stack overload. We have tools from Chrome plugins to our email. Outlook is a tool they're using every day, to the social platforms, to our CRMs, list building tools. We have dialers and tools that help us gather intelligence. We have content sharing tools, guided outreach tools, content curation and development tools, inbound lead generation, collaboration tools, presentation and demo, employee advocacy, and I can go on and on and on, and it's just an overload. So by the time we roll out all of these new great tools that are going to have a huge impact on our prospects, on our sales reps, they're at overload. They don't know how they're even going to have the time in their day to fill in to get these tools used. And the challenge is ultimately getting that adoption from the sales reps. It all leads back to, by the way, how it affects their particular deals, and we'll talk about that a little further. But getting that adoption is a challenge. So tools aren't enough. Tools are one piece of the puzzle. And just rolling out a tool isn't going to get you success. They're going to see it. They may even go through a demo of how to use it. And then the sales rep goes throughout their day and rarely ever gets back to this tool. The second piece is training isn't enough. So we can train them all day long, but by the time they're done with training, they've retained 10 or maybe 20% of that. And so that's a challenge because that's what our rollouts look like. We onboard and train, we push out the tool, we measure and mine the data, and then we coach for improvement. And it's broken because it's not enough. The pushing out the tools isn't working. We thought it would. We've been doing it for years. But what we see now is across the board in almost every tool that we talk to, the number one issue is adoption. So onboarding and training is really important. But instead of pushing tools, we need to guide them. We need to make sure that the tool we are helping them on a daily basis to use that tool in a way that is productive for them, that they see results, that they know it's deal specific, deal related, guided. That's where the big difference is going to come in, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then measure and mine your data and coach for improvement. So the broken way is training, push the tools, mine the data, coach for improvement. The fixed way is train, guide, measure, and coach. That's the new tool rollout process that is having a significant impact on tool adoption. So we need guiding for behavioral change. We've heard this all over the place that the key is that we've got to get behavioral change. But, bringing in new tools, it's like bringing in like a gym membership. We can sign them up and we can pay monthly, but if they're showing up, they're not getting the workout, right? So we've got to guide this behavior. We have to make sure that we've got them changing their behaviors, because every single day we are reinforcing what they need to do in order to be productive. And when we do that and we're reinforcing daily on the right activities that affect their deals, they will eventually buy in. So you've got to guide your reps through the journey. And this is just sort of an overlook of kind of what is that journey. So we start with that brand amplification. We're getting content out there, and we're drawing and attracting and bringing people to us. And then there's the lead generation piece. What are we doing? We're emailing people. We're putting out vast amount of content that leads to lead pages that brings us inbound leads, ultimately for our sales reps to mine. And then we have the pipeline accelerators like InsideSales.com, where it's a combination of a dialer and a cadence and a conversation and what to do, when to do next. And then we have kind of those deal conversion tools like DocuSign. And those are at the different parts of the sales process. But then we have the CRM that goes through the whole sales process. We have our sales methodology that goes throughout the whole sales process. So when we're guiding our reps through each of these things, it needs to be consistent, not just with what the tools are that we're using, but that it aligns with our expectations. We'll dive deeper into that. So what do we need to get adoption? I have 10 things to get adoption. Number one, the onboarding and training needs to start with the what's in it for them. So this has to wrap around how it impacts their deals and their wallets. So if we roll out a tool and we give them training on how to use the tool, but we haven't really got buy-in about why to use the tool, and maybe they even kind of understand why and they get it, but they don't really get the impact that if they invest the 5, 10, 15 minutes a day, how that is going to affect more deals or more opportunities and more money in their pocket. We have to think about what matters to those sales reps, and if it is getting in the way of working a deal, getting adoption is going to be that much more difficult. So it has to align with them getting more deals. Number two, It has to align with KPIs. It's got to align with your expectation. So when you're doing your one-on-one conversations as a manager, when you are coaching your sales reps, you have to have KPIs around the tools you're expecting them to use. And the conversation when you're doing your coaching sessions shouldn't just be this basic, what's in your pipeline, what do you expect to close this month, what do you expect to close next quarter, those normal conversations. We've got to put KPIs around the tools. So depending on the tools that you have, most every tool nowadays has some kind of data measurement about usage of that tool. Bring that into your conversation and bring that into your key performance indicators. That will help if you meet with them once a week or once a month. It will start to reinforce the behavior of using those tools. Next is getting adoption. Integrate with your sales methodology. We talked about this a little bit. This is a big deal. Seriously, a big deal. Your sales methodology, if you are using Richardson or Franklin Covey or Miller Hyman or Sandler, right? These are the conversations throughout this. These are the activities that they're expected to do every single day. Make sure that your KPI, that your tools and the activities in those tools are aligned with your sales methodology. Next, integrate usage of all the tools. So having a hub like your CRM or a reinforcement tool to guide your reps through to do the right behaviors will get adoption. So as many of those tools that can sync into your CRM will make it easier and for your reps to use those tools. And having a guided sales platform, something that PeopleLinx does, helps to reinforce the right behaviors and bring them into the right tools based on deals to get them better adoption and ultimately leveraging them well. Next, mobilize it. This is a big deal, right? Many of your reps are still in the field, if they are, and their phone is their primary device. So make sure that your tools are mobile friendly. Make sure that it's really simple for them to click on an app and do something. Because if it's not mobilized, you're not going to get nearly the adoption. Number 7, new tools should come from the rep's need to succeed, either in the field or in your inside sales, right? So it's succeeding, it's your success, right? So you want to make sure that when you roll out a new tool, it's about helping them close more business. It's not about management wanting data. It's not about management needing to measure what you're doing. Although I know that's really important, you want to make sure as you roll this out that tool is actually going to help that sales rep, right? So that's really very important. You need to market internally. So what does this mean? That means before you have that tool, you want to get them pumped up and excited about that tool, but not just about the tool, about the solution it's going to provide. Really bring to the surface the gap that this tool is filling and how that gap is affecting those sales reps. And then you want to, so that's marketing internally, have content that you're sending out, getting them excited about it, and then continue to market it on a consistent basis to get them to continue to use that tool. So having a reinforcement platform, something that's getting that in front of them on a daily basis that helps guide them to the right behaviors will make a big difference. You want to be able to have a system where you can get feedback, and that both internally, that you've got a channel that your reps can give feedback on the tool. They can tell you what they like, what they don't like, and something they'd love to see. Start to gather that intelligence and then have a process in place to either give that feedback to your client success manager or what can you put in place to make those necessary changes? And then have a solid relationship with your client success manager. I jumped ahead, right? Because that's really important. Their job in each of these tools is to help you be as successful and as productive as possible. So make sure you are building those relationships. So if you want to learn more about how to get better adoption to your sales stack, I would love to have a conversation. You can visit me at scheduleacallwithbrynne.com. Definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm the only Brynne Tillman. And follow me at Brynne Tillman and follow at PeopleLinx as well. I truly enjoyed providing some of these sales adoption tips. And again, if you have any questions, I look forward to